This morning, hundreds of professionals from the finance sector gathered at a symposium to map out how their industry can mitigate the very real and immediate losses and damages caused by climate change. But when Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre addressed them, he pivoted to the role they can play in making the finance industry work for people.
We must never forget that these institutions and these services are for the people of the country. All the people of the country should benefit from these discussions. We cannot develop a dual society where only one part of the population benefits from growth or expansion.
The Prime Minister's words echo those of the Central Bank Governor Timothy Antoine, who last summer called for banks to stop making the opening of bank accounts difficult for young people who are key to economic expansion.
If we are speaking about the setting up of bank accounts, it must not be a task where you have to find who is your mother, your grandfather, your aunt, or your cousin. It cannot be. It cannot be right. And regardless of what standards we have to deal with, that a young person coming from school cannot open a bank account because they don't have 2 or 3 forms of ID.
Larger nations who have disproportionate influence over the global regulatory frameworks often pressure smaller nations to adopt regulations that are not in the interest of ordinary people of smaller, poorer countries.
And you must understand that this playing field is not level. A lot of what we are asked to do is not being done in the countries that asked us to do it. But we understand that we are small fish in a big pond, and it must be compliant, but we cannot fall down and die. We have to be unique, we have to be efficient, we have to be professional, but we cannot lie down and die because someone says we must do it.
21st century capitalism often demands that the only corporate and fiduciary responsibilities are to the shareholders, but the Prime Minister placed another duty on the shoulders of the inclusion finance sector.
You have a responsibility to protect those who are not as fortunate as you, or those who do not have the opportunity to do what you did. So I want to say to you today, when you leave this forum, the people of the country should understand better why compliance and regulation is necessary, why we have to do certain things, why they must have a source of funds for the income that comes from abroad. But they must understand. But we must not make them believe that they are inefficient, or they are ignorant, or they do not know what happens. You must educate them.
He called for the proceedings of the 10th anniversary symposium of the Finance Regulatory Service Authority to be shared with the public to dispel financial ignorance in the interest of economic and personal growth.
Because the final analysis, all of us have to live in this country, and even if we can protect ourselves, but the country will remain, and we have to make the country a better place for all of us.
Prime Minister Pierre added that St. Lucia must protect its financial reputation under every circumstance, but should not do so at the expense of the welfare of its people.
We understand fully that we operate in a global world, and St. Lucia cannot stand alone. But we must have our programs must never be ahead of the people of the country. So we must be patient, we must be unique, but you must understand that these organizations exist for people.
For Choice News Now, I'm Jason Sifflet.